Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we are watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. Let me use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our Treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be freed to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America's promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We are going to win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken. And we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly. And nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
Number of documents.
Mr. President, yeah, you're.
It was a great event. We went to the helicopter. It was freezing. The sun is a little deceptive.
Yes, it is.
So what would you like us to do?
Sign your orders here.
Official documents.
Okay, I assume they're going to be happy with these documents?
Yeah, they're just, we might not be here.
It's the next step.
It's a tradition.
Sir, the first is 22 cabinet and cabinet level appointments for your signature.
Okay.
The next one will be, excuse me, the next one will be 47 sub-cabinet level appointments, sir.
But you don't have to sign 47 times.
Thank you, sir. Now 31 acting designations and appointments to effectively take control of the government.
Let's do that. That's important.
Sounds important, doesn't it?
And we have 15 commission chairman and acting chairman appointments.
Send it.
Commission chairman and acting chairman.
He was number one at Harvard also. You know that? He was number.
Good counsel.
They have something in common.
Thank you, sir. Lastly, we have a proclamation ordering that on all future inauguration days, including this inauguration day, that flags shall be flown at full mast.
Very important.
That was a beautiful place to have an inauguration tonight. The sound was so good. The temperature was 72 degrees, but the sound was so good. Maybe something to think about.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Good acoustics. Yes.
All right. Now we,
That's it.
we go to lunch.
Great. Very
Nice
good.
to meet you. Thank you very much. There we go.
1 hour later.
Presentations relating to events that occurred on January 6, 2021.
Okay, and how many people are this?
I think this order will apply to approximately 1,500 people, sir.
So this is January 6th. And these are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Full pardon or commutation?
Full pardon. We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research.
This is a proclamation guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion based on the current crisis at the southern border. It invokes various executive powers relating to the ongoing invasion at the southern border. Sir, this is an executive order realigning the United States Refugee Admission Program to better align with American principles and American interests.
Okay?
This next executive order is about protecting America from foreign terrorists and other national security and public safety threats. Again, crisis at the border, but it goes beyond that. It implicates other executive powers as well.
Okay?
President Trump, if cartels are now going to be seen as foreign terror organizations, would you think about ordering U.S. Special Forces into Mexico to take them out?
Could happen. Stranger things have happened.
This is actually an executive order designating the cartels and other organizations to be foreign terrorist organizations.
That's a big one.
Yes, sir.
People have wanted to do this for years. So they are now designated as terrorist organizations, foreign, and Mexico probably doesn't want that, but we have to do what's right.
This is an executive order entitled Protecting the American People Against Invasion, which again deals with the southern border and the unprecedented admission of illegal aliens across the southern border. This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
That's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one in the court? That one is likely to be.
Could be. We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know.
So this is a proclamation declaring a national emergency at the southern border of the United States.
That's a big one. A lot of big ones, huh?
This is an executive order taking a large number of executive actions to secure our southern border.
Okay. Sounds reasonable.
So this is about reforming the system of hiring in the federal government to ensure that merit is the lodestar of hiring decisions
As per the Supreme Court.
other matters. Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
This is a big deal, merit. Our country is going to be based on merit again. Can you believe it?
This is an order creating and implementing the Department of Governmental Efficiency, known as DOGE.
Okay, that's a big one.
Is Elon Musk going to get a West Wing office?
No, he's getting an office for about 20 people that we're hiring to make sure that these get implemented. We have a problem in this country. You sign an executive order, it doesn't get done for 6 months.
We have Alaska, sir. This is an executive order relating to unleashing Alaska's potential as an energy reservoir for the entire nation.
And what about ANWR?
I believe that would be included in aspects of the order.
So we're
sir.
opening up ANWR.
An executive order relating to holding former government officials accountable for unlawful disclosure of sensitive information. This next one, sir, is a declaration of a national energy emergency.
What's this one?
That's unleashing American energy, sir. It relates to easing permitting processes and other regulatory systems to ensure that we can produce energy efficiently to drive the American economy forward.
What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies.
Ooh. Thank you very much, everybody.
Flashback.
Now to a Fox 5 News alert. President-elect Trump asking the Supreme Court to pause banning TikTok before a law takes effect next month. It comes as TikTok makes a final plea of its own. Our chief legal correspondent, Katie Barlow, in the newsroom tonight with the latest. Katie.
Hey, good evening, Kenneth. Today, both TikTok and the Biden administration made their best case to the justices in dueling briefs that were ordered and expedited by the court ahead of oral argument in the case 2 weeks from today. TikTok says the ban violates the First Amendment's guarantee to freedom of expression. The Biden administration says TikTok and its Chinese parent company pose a serious threat to national security. President-elect Trump took the rare move of filing his own brief, telling the court to leave it to him to strike a deal that will save the app. Lawyers for TikTok compared the app to a modern-day newspaper, touting its 170 million monthly users in the United States and citing articles about the millions of younger Americans who get their news from TikTok. The law, passed by Congress last April, requires TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to either sell off the app or be banned in the U.S. Officials are concerned that the Chinese government, a foreign adversary, could gain access to user data and manipulate the content that they see. But TikTok's lawyers say the American platform is run by an American company, TikTok Inc., and no arm of the Chinese government has an ownership stake, directly or indirectly, in TikTok Inc. or ByteDance Limited.
End of flashback.
The Supreme Court has ruled to uphold the ban, uphold the law, right? So there was a big challenge that whether this was unconstitutional, whether it violated free speech. Right now, the Supreme Court has decided that this law can stand. And of course, now it's going to be a question of what goes on once the president-elect takes office, because the Biden administration reportedly may not enforce the ban. But we do know that the Supreme Court has ruled that the ban is okay to be upheld.
So the Supreme Court not jumping in here to save the day for TikTok. The small business owners and content creators won't be happy to hear this, because the platform they've used to grow a following, to earn money potentially, will now be banned. Sunday, as you mentioned, President Biden said he won't intervene to get in the way of this. But President-elect Trump has seen the benefit of TikTok. He's credited the platform with helping him get into the White House. So what does this mean in the very short term for all of these people on the platform who don't know what will happen come Sunday and Monday?
Okay, so a couple of things. In the most immediate short term, the law says that come Sunday, Apple, Google, these app stores, they cannot have the app in their app stores for those in the US. So if you don't have TikTok on your phone, you're not going to be able to download it come Sunday. Now, TikTok is reportedly considering not just, okay, we'll still allow people who are using the app to have access to it. They are reportedly considering completely shutting down access for all users. So that's sort of the first question of what might come Sunday for those of us that do have the app on our phones. Then you take this out a little bit further. Yeah. There's the question of, would President-elect Trump sign an executive order that would roll back this law? There's a lot of legal questions for those that are far more smart in that world than me to answer whether that would be possible. But the broader picture is people who use this for their business, for their brand. I've talked to many of them. They're pretty worried because TikTok versus Instagram, you have different audiences there.
Yeah, President Trump being sworn in noon Monday. So if this could be part of his first few official acts, it's still unfolding. Kelly O'Grady, thank you so much. Let's also bring in CBS News legal contributor Caroline Polisi. Tell us what you know about the Supreme Court's decision so far and what this means for people who truly do rely on the app right now.
Yeah, well, it literally just dropped. I would say from what I've skimmed through, it's not surprising. The First Amendment arguments here on behalf of TikTok really weren't that strong. You know, we're calling it the TikTok ban, but really what this was a bipartisan supported legislation that Congress passed about corporate structures, really, to preserve national security. And it relates to ByteDance, the parent company that owns TikTok. And essentially, the argument was that the ban would violate free speech implications. But, you know, the First Amendment can take a back seat to other certain issues. And in this case, it's national security. The concern is that China may be stealing our data, spying on us, you know, all the things that we've heard. You know, you just reported what could happen. Trump, I mean, this bill was spurred because in Trump's first term, he wanted to sign an executive order getting rid of TikTok. And so that raised sort of, you know, Congress's eyebrows and got this issue on the table. So this idea that Trump could potentially sign an executive order and sort of wave a magic wand is not legally accurate, right? So you can't just sign an executive order and make congressional legislation go away. It could be a sort of Band-Aid. You know, he could say, you know, we're extending implementation of the law for 30 to 60 days while we give ByteDance the chance to divest the TikTok company to an American-owned company, which is what the law says. Essentially, TikTok would have to sell to an American-owned company. There's been a lot of sort of whisperings about potentially Elon Musk stepping in to buy the company, but ByteDance says that's pure fiction. They clearly don't want to sell. So, you know, there's a lot of legal implications here. As noted, he could just direct his Justice Department, Trump, not to enforce the ban. But, you know, if I'm the general counsel at Apple or Google that's you know, selling this app, I wouldn't, you know, be too comfortable continuing to market and sell and provide TikTok to users, even in the face of Trump saying he wouldn't move forward with implementing, you know, enforcing it.
The next day.
Right now, TikTok has blocked users from the app right before a ban is set to take effect. It has also been taken off of Apple and Google's app stores. Take a look. This is the message that users are seeing when they open the app tonight. It says you can't use TikTok for now, but it also tells users that President-elect Donald Trump will work toward finding a solution. Today, Trump told Meet the Press that he would most likely grant an extension for TikTok, giving the app's Chinese owners 90 days to find a non-Chinese buyer.
If they took seriously the deadlines that we gave them in our legislation, passed overwhelmingly bipartisan, so they could sell TikTok to another entity or individual, we would not be in this dilemma.
So a lot of you may be wondering what is next. Well, it is unclear. Trump did say he expects to work out a deal to keep TikTok once he takes office on Monday.
I'll be back. I'm back.
TikTok is back after being banned in the U.S. for about 15 hours from overnight Saturday into midday today. The social media platform credited President-elect Trump for its return. Christy Kalishian has reaction from users and tells us what it was like for many people to be without their favorite app.
Usual before bed or morning scroll on TikTok for many was disrupted by this message that was sent out Saturday night.
Been just clicking on it and it's saying like it doesn't work, like got me so good this morning. Like I was so sad.
But on Sunday afternoon, about 15 hours later, the app went from saying it's working on it to welcome back, adding it was a result of President-elect Trump's efforts. At an unrelated event on Sunday, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand spoke about her wishes for the app's future.
It's really simple. Please sell it to an American. So we don't mind the app as it is. It's the ownership. We only are worried about the ownership. And we don't want an adversary to have that. It's just too much of a national security risk.
Many users reminded of the fluidity of TikTok's fate.
Pick an answer, like pick what you want to do because it gives it's just gives us anxiety, like what's going to happen.
Anxiety is just one of many feelings triggered by social media itself and breaks from it, especially for teens and adolescents whose brains are not fully developed, says psychiatrist Dr. Gail Saltz with New York Presbyterian.
Things that are exciting and only last a minute, like a thrill, that's, engaging for the adolescent brain.
She says although social media addiction is psychological, not physiological like drugs or alcohol, it's still serious, and that hours-long shutdown is a reminder of developing healthy habits that don't involve scrolling.
Get off your phone completely for an hour before you go to bed, so there's no blue light screen time. Spend more time engaged with friends who are maybe having the same struggle you are missing it too.
Some active TikTok users I heard from even started thinking about the benefits of not having it.
I hope more people actually realize that maybe we can go back to talking, not procrastinating,
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like a lot of people procrastinate on TikTok.
As a parent, I'll be happy to see my child's face again rather than on their phone.
In Times Square, Christy Kalishian, CBS News, New York.
Is that it?
No, there's more.
Now, on his first day in office, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to keep TikTok ticking for another 75 days in the U.S. But the reprieve comes with a caveat. The new U.S. president expects Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell its stake in the app or face a ban in the country.
I may not do the deal or I may do the deal. TikTok is worthless. Worthless if I don't approve it. It has to close. I learned that from the people that own it. If I don't do the deal, it's worthless, worth nothing. If I do the deal, it's worth maybe $1 trillion, $1 trillion. So if I do the deal I'm talking about doing it for the United States. If I do the deal for the United States, then I think we should get half.
President Trump also warned he would impose significant tariffs on China if Beijing fails to approve a deal regarding the app, which he said would be, quote, a hostile act.
Follow the money. What do you mean? Where? Oh, I can't tell you that. But you could tell me that. No, I have to do this my way. You tell me what you know, and I'll confirm. I'll keep you in the right direction if I can, but that's all. Just follow the money.
Lindy Lee is back with us this morning, former DNC National Finance Committee member and now member of the Trump-Vance Inaugural Committee. Wow, Lindy, what a pivot. I can't say as though it surprised me given the emotion involved, and I know it was a difficult decision for you. At what point did you decide to take on this new role and change the color you're wearing?
Marnie, it's so good to be with you again. Watching that previous footage was just heartrending for me because I never planned on doing this at all. I had tried very hard to clean house internally, but no one listened, and we still don't have any accounting. So we still don't know what happened to that money. We do know that $500 million went to just 4 well-connected Democratic firms who got rich. A lot of people became overnight multimillionaires. And I fear that these people are just going to move on to the next campaign and fail up, essentially. And so this has been lightning speed for me. This is not what I anticipated at all. And they kind of forced my hand. When you are called the C word, the W word, and the B word, and a Chinese spy every single day on an hourly basis, it grinds down your soul. There's only so much you can take. And actually, the Chinese Communist Party killed my great-grandfather. So for people to make the allegation is just so deeply distressing. And there's just only so much you can take. And once I don't want to name him, but there is a member of the DNC leadership goading influencers and members of the so-called K-Hive to come after me simply for asking questions. That's my only crime. For asking questions.
Do you feel betrayed by your party, Lindy?
I do. This is a party that I've been in for more than a decade, essentially all my life. I started interning for my local congressman, Joe Sestak, when I was 13 years old. So more than half of my life, I've been a Democrat. And I wanted to revitalize the party from within. But if you, in a cult, you can't ask questions. You have to toe the party line at all times. And my words and my questions were a threat to their power. So they had to destroy me. It's easier to destroy the critic than to accept reality.
That's fucked up, man.
The plan.
We start that interview with something really minor.
CNN has now been found liable of defamation and ordered to pay $5 million in damages. But the jury has also ordered the network to award punitive damages to the man who sued the network over a story he said was a hit piece against him. The jury agreed. And because of it, we're getting detailed financial reports from CNN, not typically made public, that shows a network in steep financial decline. A Florida jury has found CNN defamed Navy veteran Zachary Young, a security contractor who was featured in a November 2021 segment about the costs Afghan refugees were paying to leave the ravaged area following the U.S.-Afghanistan withdrawal. CNN featured Young in the story as the only named private contractor assisting in the Afghan evacuations. CNN referred to it as black market operations, later issuing an on-air apology over using the words black market. Young argued the report put him in a negative light, painting him as a criminal. Young contended he was contracted out by corporations and paid by them, never by Afghan refugees, calling the report completely false. While CNN contended their reporting was accurate at trial, the jury sided with Young, saying the report was materially false and done with at least negligence. But the jury isn't done. Now a decision is to be made on the amount of punitive damages awarded, with the jury to hear testimony about CNN's finances, with CNN lawyers already making a case for the jury to show mercy. According to Washington Post reporter Jeremy Barr covering the trial, CNN's top lawyer, in trying to appeal to the jury to award a small punitive damages award, acknowledges that you're going to see that the net worth of the company is actually in a subtle decline. You're also going to hear about the headwinds facing the entire media environment. Barr, citing tax documents obtained in the case, shows a series of financial stats that points to a network in decline, showing CNN's net income dropping from $600 million in 2021 to $300 million in 2022 and slightly increasing by 2023. And then CNN's net worth dropping from $4.4 billion in 2021 to $2.2 billion in 2022. Barr noting CNN's net worth was chopped in half. Defamation lawsuits against the media rarely make it to a jury trial, usually being settled or dismissed, making this case unique. And perhaps the outcome could incentivize more lawsuits against media companies at a time the industry is already facing a decline in revenue and trust.
What a bunch of dumbasses. Yeah, really.
Flashback.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that.
End of flashback.
After 15 months and a lot of hand-wringing around, we're working night and day, we're working tirelessly around the clock, that we heard from Joe Biden and then, of course, from Kamala Harris about a supposed ceasefire deal that was on the table, that it seems to have taken the incoming new inauguration of Donald Trump to actually get one done. We'll see how this all plays out. But I think one thing, Ryan Grimm pointed out, said, look, let's talk about it. The U.S. called the shots, and Trump said he wanted it over by 120. Therefore, it must be over by 120. This has never been complicated. Biden was not weak. Biden supported the war. So that's really what I'm bitching about is, and I think it's complicated. I don't think it's just that, Trump was strong, Biden weak, although I think that's maybe 50% of it. Biden and Blinken were never willing to actually make any threats or temper aid or anything like that. And, Trump actually reads the room. That's the other thing he's done. He's read the room live in his campaign speeches, knowing that he's speaking to a MAGA audience that really doesn't care that they're sending a bunch of money to Israel. But he says it sort of loudly, like, I don't know, about Biden, in terms of he was addressing the anger out there. Yes, he called, Chuck Schumer a Palestinian and all of these, bigoted things or allegedly bigoted things, disrespectful things, right? As if Palestinian were a slur. But he also has seen that the Democratic Party is turned on Biden himself for being incredibly weak in the face of a country that should be is basically a client proxy state and seems to be calling the shots. And so I'm surprised. I'm surprised to see Israel now coming to the table, because I assumed that once Trump was in, it would be nothing but more genocide and more war. And so I feel like I was maybe wrong on that.
Several days later.
3 Israelis held hostage by Hamas are now back with their families tonight as a ceasefire is in effect. After more than 15 months, fighting has temporarily stopped. Hostages that have been held in the Gaza Strip and Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails will be freed in this first phase of that deal. And tonight, we have reaction from South Florida. Local 10's Terrell Forney is joining us live from Southwest Miami-Dade with the latest. Terrell.
And this is just day one of this major ceasefire agreement. But so far, it appears that both sides are sticking to this deal. And tonight, we know that there are a lot of people here in South Florida with ties to the Middle East, and in some cases, ties to the hostages and the victims of this long war, who are watching everything play out very closely. A sign of cheer and relief on the streets of Israel as official word came down that 3 Israeli hostages were successfully freed. This video shows the very moment the trio of women were released from captivity following the 15-month-long war that claimed the lives of tens of thousands of people in the Middle East.
It's a sense of relief for these 3 hostages and a time for prayer also for their families, asking God to give the families the strength and the hostages who were just freed to be able to rebuild their life.
The families of the freed hostages photographed celebrating the much anticipated moment, all part of a ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel. 33 more Israeli hostages are scheduled to be released over the next 6 weeks. But the rabbi of the Chabad of Kendall and Pinecrest, who has consoled some of South Florida's Jewish community who lost loved ones during the conflict, is skeptical on the long-term aspect of the deal.
So I have lots of concerns if we're going to be able to get the rest of our hostages who were brutally ripped out of their homes, out of the festival, and pulled into Gaza and taken there. And who are the ones that we're releasing? These are people that caused death, murder, and continue on it.
In exchange, 90 Palestinian prisoners and detainees are set to be released. Right now, displaced Gazans and humanitarian aid trucks are returning to the war-torn streets of the Gaza Strip. This South Florida rabbi is reminding the community that faith is necessary.
And we'll prevail again. Light over darkness. Keep our faith in God. Keep doing right and holy things. Keep bringing light to the world. Keep helping and making a difference in people's lives.
White House National Security Coordinator Brett McGurk on Face the Nation Sunday.
Hamas owed the list of the 3 names that had to happen for the ceasefire to go into effect. That was delayed a couple hours. It eventually happened, and now we have the news today. You have a full ceasefire in effect in Gaza. You have about 800 trucks of aid getting into Gaza today.
Aid trucks could be seen crossing into the Gaza Strip at the Rafah crossing from Egypt on Sunday. Under the negotiated deal, the ceasefire would be in 3 phases. President Biden with more on the first phase.
4 more women will be released in 7 days. 3 additional hostages every 7 days thereafter, including at least 2 American citizens in this first phase. We pray for them and their families.
The first phase will last 42 days, but 2 weeks in, negotiations on the far more difficult second phase is set to begin. The next release of hostages is expected on Saturday.
Hugs and tears of joy as 3 women held hostage more than 15 months by Hamas were finally released and reunited with family and friends. Emily Damari, Romy Goen, and Duran Steinbrecher handed from Hamas militants to the Red Cross shortly after the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas took effect early Sunday. Sheba Hospital saying all are in stable condition. One of the hostages, Emily Damari, writing on Instagram, "Thank you, I'm happiest in the world simply to exist." The dual British-Israeli national adding, "I came back to life." Families of hostages gathering in Israel, some waiting for their relatives still in Hamas captivity.
We're not forgetting that this deal is so fragile, and we must make sure that it goes through until the very end, till the very last hostage.
We have some special people for me to introduce you to tonight. President Trump has been talking to them as well. They are the families of hostages from Israel who have been in Gaza for the last year and a half. There are many of them here today. Several of the families have lost children and loved ones, and they're here because they're part of an effort to retrieve their bodies so they can be buried in a proper way. Several have children who are still in captivity. There is an American family here whose loved one is scheduled to come out in 14 days, and they're going to be meeting the president tonight. So let's give them all some love and a big hand. Come on up.
I want to bring in our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, watching from Israel at this hour. And many of these families have said, Ian, in these last couple of days, that they really do not believe this ceasefire deal would have happened without Donald Trump.
And that's the game!
You've disconnected from the hive mind. Explain.